All right, guys, so as you know, the build never stops, and SEMA's within how many days?
Like 4.
4 days before we actually leave California to make our way to Vegas to go to Walters and to kind of tie in some last minute pieces that I need some help with. And then from there, we drop off the car on Sunday at the Las Vegas Convention Center. But in the meantime, we're excited to have teamed up with AST suspension, also known as MOTON suspension. Very well-known suspension company in performance series racing, different type of track events. So we're really happy to try these out and to see how this car looks lowered. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of show you guys how I'm gonna go ahead and get these swapped over. This might not be the way that everybody does it, but this is a way that I've done it on any car that I've ever done lowering springs on, or coilovers for that matter. These are going to be a little bit different than coilovers because I have to replace the actual spring, but other than that, I have a spring compressor, and we're going to try to get this done. So we'll see where we end up. Might not even end up installing them because I might not even know what I'm really doing. So stay tuned and let's see.
Let's hope not. I'll supervise.
So for anybody that is wondering, usually pretty universal on Hyundai is pretty cool. What I love is 17 millimeter and a 19 millimeters, which you're gonna need to remove the strut from the knuckle right here. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna see if I can crack them loose with this. And if I can't, I'm gonna see if I can crack it loose with this with a breaker for my jack. So I'm gonna go ahead and start loosening this, and then we'll go from there. All right, so sometimes it just takes a little bit of ooga doogas to get her loose, but once you kind of get it going, everything's really nice and loose. So I'm not going to remove this all the way. I'm going to pretty much just get it like right there, and then I'm going to go down to the bottom one and do the same thing. So what I'm going to do before I get to this bottom one, this is probably going to be a 12 millimeter right here. I'm going to loosen up this brake line from this, so that way when this drops down, it's going to be separated from this. And then we have a 14 probably right here for the sway bar end link, and then just disconnecting the little electrical component. So we'll take you along on that, but just kind of just going an overview. So this is going to be a 12 millimeter bolt that's holding in this brake line to the strut. What I like to do is, from aerospace and even just being mechanics, a good thing to do is always put your bolt back in the area that you came from, so that way you're not just putting things on the side and trying to remember where everything goes. And then you're going to have one connector right here that I'm going to go ahead and unplug. That's going to loosen this. So from there, I can go ahead and try to break this bottom 19 loose. And then after I break this 19 loose, we'll go, or 17, I apologize, 17, and then a 19 on this side. But after I break that loose, pretty much this will come off, and then I have 3 14 millimeter bolts on the top that I have to loosen, and it'll drop the whole strut down. So this bottom one was a pain in the butt, and the only thing I can say is that if you're having trouble trying to loosen it from this side, switch to this side and just try breaking it, because that's usually what works. And if that doesn't work, Godspeed to you. Usually what I'll do is I'll loosen this like this, and I'll go get a rubber mallet, and I'll be able to just smack these. Alright guys, so 13 millimeter holds this guy right here, removes all that, and then I have a 17 right here that's going to remove this end link, and then once I get this off, it should be good. All right guys, I got the driver's side strut off. I'm gonna go ahead and attach my spring compressors right here, get this compressed, pop this off. I think this is a 19. Yeah, it's a 19, and we'll pop that off. Shout out to AutoZone in Vegas for me forgetting to return this. Now it's mine.
No, I guess it comes in handy, right?
Exactly. Pretty much put this somewhere right here, lock this into place, and the idea is that you set this somewhere along the spring, and then while tightening this down, it will compress the spring. And this is obviously a little lock to make sure, so we'll put one right here. And essentially the goal is for you to treat it pretty much evenly on each side. All right guys, so looking at the two, these seem a little bit more stiffer. These ones are a little less stiff. So driver's side is done. I'll show you guys how it kind of was mounted, but I just wanted to make sure everything was going good. But this is going to be driver's side. All right, and for the people that made the comment about the bracing that goes right here along the side, it doesn't fit with this, and honestly, this is going to provide way more bracing than this overall. So I'm honestly really not that worried about it. That little piece, this is holding down both sides of the chassis together. So fronts are done. Rears, I had already took off the tires, so first thing is that's what you guys are going to want to do. And what I like to do is I like to get the end links loose, so they're 14 millimeter on both sides, and I'll put a 14 millimeter here, 14 millimeter here, and I'll just go ahead and take it off this way. All right guys, so same thing as the front. You're going to have a 17 and you're going to have a 19. This one actually is going to be a 19 on both sides. So guys, so I have everything popped off. This was you use a jack stand to kind of help support the weight where you need to move this, so that way the bolts are easier to come out. But once you have these bolts out, this literally is easy to put down and to take the other spring out. So this is the piece of rubber that's on the OEM spring on the bottom. You want to match it to the correct one. So I'm going to just make sure that both of these look like they're the same size, which they are. And then I'm going to feed this in here, turn this all the way. All right, so I don't know if you guys can see, but on this rubber there's a stop, so I'm going to feed this all the way to where it stops. That's going to be the bottom. This is the stock spring right here, and I'm going to take this off right here. And another way for us to really know as well is make sure the writing's up and you'll know which way is what. So on this one there is no indentation, so all I'm worried about doing is making sure that this fits flush. All right guys, so in here you're gonna see that there's some indentations, and you're gonna see on my piece of rubber right here there's an indentation. Goal is to put that inside of corresponding hole right there, so that way it sits good. So I'm gonna see where it sits. pretty much it's going to be this small hole that's facing this way over here. And now that that's in, I can go ahead and place everything kind of where it goes, push up this with a jack and get everything placed back in.
Okay, so here's the rear spring installed. Of course, you guys will go ahead and repeat the steps that you guys did to pretty much remove everything. But yeah, in these next few clips right here, you're gonna see this is the front stock suspension the way it was, and then here's the rear, and you guys will see the pretty big difference. So this is actually the next day after Henry installed them. It clearly lowered quite a bit. We would say like 3/4 to an inch drop. We haven't taken the measurements yet, but we will make sure to comment it below, and then you guys can compare with your stock setup. And then here was after about a 300-mile drive to Vegas. I still hadn't got an alignment at this point. That way everything's settled, but just make sure to get an alignment after a few days. That way you don't get uneven wear on any of the tires. So update on after driving it the 300 miles to Vegas, and then of course, you know, having it as my daily driving to work. What I noticed from stock is that the suspension is more stiff. You feel the bumps a little bit more than, you know, stock, but I haven't experienced any rubbing, you know, going up driveways. Obviously, you have to be very careful going up certain driveways or coming down in certain inclines, but aside from that, when you go with springs, you can't expect it to feel like stock. If you want more of that leeway to make it softer, of course, then go with coilovers when they do come available. Definitely I recommend that if that's kind of the route more that you guys are wanting to go after that stock feel. These just made such a big difference to me. I feel like this is what the car needed to really just complete the look on the outside. And yeah, so far so good. I'm very thankful to AST MOTON Suspension for allowing me to test out these springs for you guys. Let us know down below, comment what you guys think about the drop, if it's something you guys would want for your Elantra N, if you guys want something lower or if you guys want something more high. Let us know, that way we can have them you know, look at your guys' feedback, and then from there they're able to make batches for the community. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys for watching today's video, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.